algebra students, Mr. Lawrence here with your flipped lesson, our very first lesson. I hope you're as excited as I am. Blake, are you paying attention? Okay, guys, here we go. The real numbers. We're going to start small. You might see these symbols over here on the side, the N, the W, and Z. You're going to learn what they are in a real minute. But I want you to stop and consider. Do you ever stop and think how people first learned to count, like before they knew how to count? Maybe like a long, long time ago. Hold on one second. There was a sheep. And, hold on, where's my sheep? Ooh, now you know why I teach math and not art. All right. Got to give him some legs. There's my sheep. And back then, animals were like money. If you had a lot of animals, you were a wealthy person because, he's a happy little sheep, by the way. Animals could be used for food, for clothing. They reproduced, so, you didn't necessarily have to buy more. If you had enough, you could get more real easily. You would just keep reproducing if you took good care of them. So animals were very important, but they were also hard to take care of. There were a lot of things trying to hurt the animals. Well, maybe one night a shepherd got the idea. He said, you know what? I have a lot of sheep. And maybe just one night, while his whole pen of sheep were sleeping, notice he has a lot of sheep here, this farmer decided to go around by each sheep and put a rock near them as they lay sleeping. Okay, so he put one down for each of the sheep. And then in the morning, when the sheep went out to graze, he went and picked up all the rocks. So the sheep have all left us. They're out grazing. And, you've got people watching them, but he's got a lot of sheep. I only have 6 here, but we're talking about a guy with like maybe hundreds of sheep. And he puts all his rocks in a bag. Okay. Now when the sheep start to come back home in the evening, he moves a rock to test see if he can tell if he has the right number. He doesn't even know what numbers are yet. That's what you and I would say, the right amount. And if he runs out of rocks at the same moment he runs out of sheep, well, that's perfect. That's the way it's supposed to be. If he has an extra rock for some reason, like so, one still over here, he knows there's a problem. He knows there's a sheep missing, right? If he has to go look for it. Maybe it got attacked by a wolf. Maybe it got stolen. If he has extra sheep, well then he might have a problem, or it might be a good situation. Maybe one of the sheep gave birth, and so now he's got a new baby to take care of, which is good to know. He can watch out for it. Or maybe somebody else's sheep accidentally wandered into his pen, and he has to return it because you don't want to be considered a thief. So you have to figure out who this extra sheep is and where it came from. So this was probably the way counting started. Now, they didn't have numbers for it, but eventually the people gave them, names for the rocks. Like the first one they put down, they called something. And we don't know what they called it because we don't know what language it was in. But we would call it 1, and then 2, and then 3, and so on. Well, that came about kind of naturally. And those types of numbers are called natural numbers. Okay, and they have a symbol, a big old N with an extra bar on it. Kind of looks like that. You'll need to know the word natural. You may use the symbol, that's okay. But the natural numbers, they're real simple. They start 1, 2, 3, and they go on forever. Okay? Now, they have no decimals. Whoa, what is that? Decimals. Where's my S? And they have no fractions. This is crazy. My airliner's acting up. I think it's possessed. Oh no. All right, so those are the natural numbers. And they go on forever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can count that way forever. But they don't include any decimals, any fractions. All right, you got that page? Yeah, I'll bet you do, as smart as you are. All right, now, you see this W here? This W stands for another set of numbers because after a while, the Mayans actually were the first ones to come up with this idea. Anybody know what idea I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of the idea of zero. Nobody understood zero until the Mayans, at least nobody that we know of. And you actually kind of knew what it was, but they weren't sure. Tell you what, let's pretend that you have a glass of yummy strawberry milk here, and Grandma or Mommy or whoever has given you a plate of cookies. Ooh, look at these yummy cookies. All right. And you go ahead and you eat your cookies and drink your strawberry milk. When you eat all the cookies as a little kid, now if you're a greedy little boy, you'll say, I want more. And I only say that because my boys always say that to be cute. But you're eating all your cookies. And so let's say you finished all your cookies. What would a real little kid say, like a 2 or 3-year-old? They might say, all gone, right? Get all excited, all gone. And what they were really trying to say was zero. So the Mayans were the first people to come up with zero. So we have another number system thanks to the Mayans. And that number system is called the whole numbers. Oh, where did my whole numbers go? There they are. All right, my whole numbers. And the whole numbers are just like the natural numbers, except they include zero. But in every other way, they are exactly the same as the natural numbers. They have no decimals. And they also have no fractions. And they go on forever in the positive direction, just like the whole numbers do, or the natural numbers do. So they're exactly the same, except they include zero. Okay, then. Let's see how we're doing on time. All right, I got to wrap this up in about a minute or two. We have one more number system to learn about today, and that is called the integers. And your parents know about the integers because you guys start borrowing money. I got to find my integer. Okay, I found my integers. The integers come up when you started to think about borrowing money. You started to owe people money. Mom, can I have $10? And, when you're young enough, Mom doesn't make you pay back the money. But when you're older and have a job, she might ask you to. The integers include the whole numbers. They include zero. They include, of course, all the natural numbers. They'd have to if they include the whole numbers. But then they start to include the negatives. So the integers go on in the negative direction forever. And it's just like the naturals and wholes. There are no fractions, no decimals, and they also have no beginning. All right, and that's your lesson for today. I hope that was pretty painless, Michael, but should be pretty easy stuff. All right, Mr. Lawrence signing off. Have a good night, everybody.